There's a myth in boxing that some fighters are just born for it, that Floyd Mayweather was one of the lucky ones, that he was just gifted, too slick, too fast, too sharp. But if you believe that, then you've never seen how he trained. You didn't see the nights he ran through Las Vegas at 1 a.m. You didn't see the rounds that never ended, the pad work that felt like a dance and a war at the same time. The endless grind inside four walls that saw more of him than the world ever did, where he trained not just to win, but to never get tired. He didn't party during camp. Hell, even outside of it, he was always calculating. He wasn't just training for his next fight. He was training for the next 12 rounds, the next 50-0, the next moment someone tried to doubt him. They say hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. But what happens when the most talented fighter of his generation also works harder than everyone else? Welcome to Back to Boxing. To really understand how Floyd Mayweather trained, you first have to understand where he came from. Because his training wasn't just about boxing, it was about survival. It was about legacy. And it started long before he ever stepped into a ring. Floyd Joy Mayweather Jr. was born on February 24, 1977, in Grand Rapids, Michigan. His father, Floyd Mayweather Sr., was a skilled professional boxer known for his sharp defense and ring IQ, traits that would eventually become the core of his son's style. But Floyd Sr. wasn't always there. During Floyd's early years, his father was incarcerated on drug charges, leaving a void that would shape Floyd's upbringing. While his father was away, young Floyd was raised by his grandmother and surrounded by other powerful influences. His uncles, Roger and Jeff Mayweather, both respected fighters in their own right. Roger, especially, stepped in as a mentor and would eventually become Floyd's main trainer, the mastermind behind his now legendary defensive technique. Roger had one simple mantra: boxing is about hitting and not getting hit. But in the Mayweather family, that wasn't just a clever quote, it was a code to live by. Every session, every drill, every moment in the gym revolved around this principle. Defense wasn't a style, it was a survival tactic. The first time Floyd laced up gloves, he was just 7. But this wasn't some casual after-school hobby. From day one, it was treated like serious business. While most kids were learning jab-cross combos, Floyd was being taught how to read a fighter, how to anticipate punches before they were even thrown. He wasn't just training, he was learning how to think inside the ring. At Burston Fieldhouse, the local gym where he trained, people started noticing that there was something different about this skinny kid. He wasn't the biggest, the fastest, or the strongest, but he had a gift, the ability to slip punches like he could see them in slow motion. By 10 years old, he was already showcasing the instincts that would define his entire pro career. When Floyd Sr. got out of prison, he brought a different perspective to Floyd's training, more analytical, more scientific. He emphasized film study, angles, timing, and precision. And while his style sometimes clashed with Roger's, that friction made Floyd better. He soaked it all in, combining his uncle's slick defense with his father's cerebral, calculated approach. By his early teens, Floyd's training was already the stuff of local legend. He'd be up at 5 a.m. pounding the pavement, then spend hours in the gym refining every movement, every technique. At night, while other kids were watching cartoons, he was studying tapes of boxing greats. His amateur record, 84 wins, 8 losses, and a bronze medal at the 1996 Olympics, only tells part of the story. The real story is this: Mayweather's foundation wasn't built in bright arenas or on TV screens. It was built in sweat-soaked gyms under the watchful eyes of men who had lived the fight life. His training wasn't normal, but Floyd never aimed to be normal. He trained to be untouchable, and that's exactly what he became, inside Floyd's daily grind. Let's pull back the curtain on something most people never really see: what a day inside Floyd Mayweather's training camp actually looked like. Because if you want to understand how he became one of the most well-conditioned, sharpest fighters to ever step into a ring, you need to understand the routine behind the greatness. When Floyd was in full fight mode, his day didn't start at 8 or 9 a.m. like a normal athlete. It started at 5 a.m. every single day. No exceptions, no snooze button. While the rest of the world was asleep, Floyd was already on the road. And this wasn't just mindless jogging. Early in camp, he'd run 5 to 6 miles at a steady pace, building endurance. But as fight night got closer, the runs got more intense. 3 weeks out, it turned into sprint intervals. 2 minutes of cruising, followed by a 30-second sprint that mimicked a flurry in the ring. Then right back to cruising. Those 30-second bursts, that's the same window he might have to explode with a combo, land clean, and disappear before getting touched. Everything had purpose. After road work came breakfast and recovery, meals planned by a personal nutritionist, down to the gram, depending on which phase of camp he was in. It wasn't about eating clean, it was about eating smart. Around 2 p.m, it was time to hit the gym, but walking into Mayweather's gym wasn't like walking into a regular training space. It felt more like a laboratory. Every tool, every station had a role to play. Nothing was random. He'd start with a warm-up, but not the kind where you just jog in place and do a few stretches. Floyd would grab a jump rope first, snapping it under his feet with machine-like rhythm, crisscrosses, double unders, fast feet. It looked effortless, but it was sharpening balance, timing, and ring footwork all at once. Then, with his blood flowing and his mind locked in, he'd move to shadow boxing, throwing the exact combinations and slipping the exact counters he expected in the fight. Even the warm-up had strategy. Then came technical work, and here's where Mayweather really separated himself from the rest. Most fighters hit the heavy bag when they're fresh, throwing hard shots to feel good. Floyd? He saved the early rounds for precision. That's when his mind was sharpest and his body wasn't yet tired. He'd work the double-end bag like it owed him money, but not with power, with precision. Timing, rhythm, angles. Watching him was like watching someone play jazz on fast forward. Then came the mitts, probably the most iconic part of his routine. But this wasn't just for show. It was fast-paced, reactive, almost like watching a dance between fighter and coach. His trainer would call combinations, throw counters mid-flow, and Floyd had to respond, hit, slip, counter, reset without missing a beat. It was muscle memory being built in real time. Sparring came next, and it wasn't about going to war, it was calculated. Floyd used sparring like a surgeon uses a scalpel, not to destroy, but to dissect. If he was fighting a southpaw, he'd spar only southpaws. If he wanted to practice a new angle or tactic, he'd dedicate entire rounds to that one move. Every round had a mission. His strength training wasn't about lifting heavy weights or doing flashy workouts. It was about building a body that could box for 12 rounds. Functional strength, core work, resistance bands, footwork drills, everything aimed at improving specific, fight-relevant movements. And that included neck training. Floyd would strap on a neck harness, attach a heavy plate, and perform slow, controlled lifts to build an iron neck. It looked old school, and it was, but the purpose was pure science. A strong neck meant his head didn't snap back when he got clipped. It meant less shock to the brain, better balance, and more durability late in fights. This was how he built knockout resistance. Quiet, brutal, necessary work. And sometimes after all that, he'd be back in the gym again in the evening for a second session. Lighter, more technical, just working on details, tiny adjustments, things most people wouldn't even notice. But that made all the difference at the championship level. But maybe the most overlooked part of his routine? The mental work. Every night, Floyd would study tape, not just casually. He'd take notes. He'd watch for habits, weaknesses, tendencies. He'd mentally walk through the fight dozens of times. What if I get clipped in the fourth? What if he comes out southpaw? What if I hurt him and he doesn't go down? He had a response ready for everything, because he'd already fought the fight in his head 100 times before the bell ever rang. Recovery was just as important. Ice baths, massage therapy and cryotherapy. His body was treated like a machine that needed to be finely tuned every single day. By 10 p.m. it was lights out. He'd done everything he could to get better that day. And then he'd do it all again tomorrow, and again, and again, for 8 to 12 weeks. So when fight night came around, Floyd looked calm, relaxed, sometimes even playful. But don't be fooled. That calm came from knowing he had already lived that moment 100 times. For him, the fight was never the hard part. It was just another day at the office. Mastering defense. Now we get to what truly set Floyd Mayweather apart from the rest. His defense. Not the flash, not the bravado, but the way he made world-class punchers miss by inches. And here's the thing, this wasn't just God-given talent. Floyd's defensive genius came from years of precise, intentional training. He didn't just react to punches, he studied them like a language. He trained to see danger before it arrived and be gone before it landed. At the heart of it all was something Floyd called seeing punches. Most fighters rely on raw reflexes to survive in the ring. Floyd trained himself to actually read punches before they were even thrown. He looked for the tiniest tells, shoulder twitches, weight shifts, hand drops, anything that gave him a half-second advantage, and he trained his brain to recognize them instantly. He'd spend hours studying opponents on film. If a guy dropped his left shoulder before the right hand, Floyd knew. If he leaned in, before ready. In his mind, every opponent was a puzzle, and he solved them one detail at a time. That famous shoulder roll, it wasn't a trick, it was a whole system of reactions. Every movement, every angle was adjusted based on the punch coming at him. It wasn't flashy, it was surgical. And the drills? Brutal repetition. Trainers would throw the same punch over and over. Floyd would repeat the same slip, block, or roll thousands of times, until his reactions were automatic, even at full speed. One of his secret weapons was something called proximity work. While most fighters dodge big, moving their whole body, Floyd trained to move just enough. A slip that missed by an inch, but left him perfectly placed to counter. He made defense efficient, not just effective. His footwork was just as calculated. He didn't dance, he positioned. Every step created an angle that made it harder to hit him and easier to hit you. Against orthodox fighters, he'd practice subtle shifts to his right, taking away the opponent's power hand and opening the door for his own sharp right counter. Even his strength training was defense-specific. Holding that shoulder roll for 12 rounds isn't easy. He built shoulder and core strength just to maintain that posture, and trained to stay balanced while trainers tried to push him off it. You could try to break his stance, but he trained to make it unshakable. He didn't just drill slips and rolls, he practiced entire defensive chains. Slip right, roll, pull back, step left. It all flowed like a dance, each move setting up the next, designed to handle multiple shots in one fluid rhythm. And maybe most impressive of all, he trained to fight going backwards. Most fighters get exposed when they back up. Floyd turned it into a strength. He'd walk backward during training while slipping, rolling, and countering, forcing himself to stay sharp even while retreating. Backing up never meant backing down. The result? A fighter who looked like he had superpowers, who made world champions look ordinary. But it wasn't magic. It was discipline. It was intention. It was the science of not getting hit, mastered by a man obsessed with perfection. Advanced techniques and the legacy. Floyd Mayweather didn't treat sparring like most fighters do. For him, it wasn't just practice. It was a classroom. Every sparring session was like a high-level seminar in boxing. One day might be devoted entirely to jabs and right hands. Another day, it was all about controlling distance. Another, pure counter-punching. He wasn't just going through the motions. He was mastering situations one layer at a time. One of Floyd's most brilliant innovations was situational sparring. Instead of just fighting round after round, he created specific scenarios. He'd start a round pretending to be hurt, or set a goal, like scoring a knockdown in the first minute. He trained not just his body, but his mind, to stay sharp under stress, fatigue, and pressure, because real fights don't follow a script. He also practiced something he called asymmetric sparring. If he was preparing for a 5'8" slick defensive fighter, he might spar with a 6'2" aggressive southpaw. Why? Because if he could handle someone totally different, the actual opponent would feel easy by comparison. He over-prepared, on purpose. Even the mitt work with his Uncle Roger became its own kind of performance art. But it wasn't for show. Those crazy fast combinations, the slipping, the shoulder rolls, mid-pad work, they were built around real-time reaction, pressure, and improvisation. Trainers wouldn't just feed him combos. They'd throw punches back, shift angles, force Floyd to adapt every second. He wasn't just learning moves. He was building an entire fight brain. A secret to Floyd's precision was something called micro-adjustments. Tiny tweaks in angle, timing, or positioning, the kind of things that don't show up on slow motion, but made all the difference in a fight. Changing the jab angle by just a few degrees made it harder for southpaws to counter. It's the stuff you only get through thousands of focused reps. And then came the science. Floyd was one of the first to bring data into the gym. His team recorded everything: punch stats, accuracy, defensive success rates. They tracked patterns over time, adjusted training loads based on performance, not guesswork. In a sport built on tradition, Floyd brought cold, clinical analysis. He didn't just train hard, he trained smart. His training also evolved with him. When he was younger, it was all speed and volume, beating guys with a blur of punches. But as he moved up in weight and age, his training became more tactical, more cerebral. He focused more on film, on game plans, on recovery. He adjusted to the demands of his body and his opponents. And that's why Floyd's legacy goes beyond the ring. You can see his fingerprints on fighters around the world: situational sparring, defensive drills, data tracking, efficiency over endless volume. His influence is baked into modern boxing, even if most won't admit it. But the real legacy? It's the mindset. That success comes from intelligent preparation, from understanding exactly what you do well and knowing exactly how to take away what your opponent does best, from constantly evolving, even when you're already on top. Because when you look back at Floyd's 21-year career, what stands out isn't just the 0 losses, it's that he never stopped improving. The Floyd who fought Pacquiao in 2015 was better than the one who won his first title in 1998, 17 years earlier. In a sport where most guys fade by their early 30s, Floyd got sharper in his late 30s. That's not genetics. That's not luck. That's preparation, obsession, mastery. Floyd Mayweather didn't just train to win. He trained to remove every possible excuse for losing. And that's what made him great. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into how Floyd Mayweather really trained. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about this? And I'll see you in the next one.